Hi, I'm Edwin Rutch, Director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy, and I wanted to introduce this video of a workshop that we just did on March 15th, 2014. This workshop was called Reigniting the Embers of Empathy, Building Empathic Community. And the workshop was facilitated by myself as well as Mutima Imani, and who's a minister at the church, and Brian Bramlett, who facilitated the mindfulness component, as well as Jeremy Axelrod and Jeff Nagata, and they both facilitated the human-centered design or empathic design component of the workshop. So the workshop was a day-long workshop, lasted 7 hours. It started in the morning. We started with an empathy cafe with empathic listening and practiced in small groups empathic listening. And we start off with the question of what is your intention for coming to the workshop? And then we shifted to other tables and talked about how everyone was at the moment, how are they feeling now, and we discussed a stress or anxiety or a fear in the next round, and then a conflict that people were having in their lives in the final round. And we had lunch for about an hour, and then we went into the second part of the day, which was on empathic design, or also called human-centered design or design thinking. And we went through the workshop format of the IDEO Design School, or D School at Stanford. And this process takes empathy and as a gateway into creativity and innovation. So the workshop, the video is not the greatest, and the audio is not the greatest, so I apologize for that. I used this old camera I have, which is not the best, so sorry about that, the quality, but it'll give you a flavor of what we did. It's about 45 minutes long, and you can scrub through it, kind of jump around if you want to see different parts of the workshop. It was a lot of fun. People were laughing, having a really good time. People commented on the diversity of the group. There's a feedback section at the end where people share about what their experiences were in the group, and that was got a lot of good feedback. The next video, the next clip that we're going to see that starts this off is just a little bit of an overview of the setup, and then we'll get into the individual components. So thanks for taking a look at this, and stay in touch. Thanks. Okay, setting up for the workshop. All kinds of supplies. Okay, let's bring it to a close. I had mentioned before about empathy being a healing agent. So there's other problems in terms of empathy as a healing agent. One is stuckness, stress, anxiety, depression, alienation, trauma, post-traumatic stress. If you look at in terms of the therapeutic problems that are out there, almost every one of them is addressed through empathic listening. So really being heard is like the primary healing agent. Do you want to share a little bit about your experiences in the table, just what's coming up for you personally, and how was it kind of staying in the mode? I mean, one thing that happens sometimes is
it's a little bit of a rigid structure in terms of who's speaking, who's reflecting, and keeping within that mode. There's a real tendency to kind of just start getting into conversation. And kind of the discipline of the reflective listening, I think, is really good. And I'm also wondering how that is for everyone. Are we able to stay in that mode, or are you getting kind of into more conversational mode, etc.? Would someone like to just share?
Well, like in this table, we did the first round, and we kept very much to the structure, where everyone spoke about their own relation to empathy, anxiety, and the person felt hurt. So I think we accomplished that at the first, but then it was so stimulating that we then went on to ask questions, like when he was speaking, he graduated from school, but we didn't know, we were both curious about, well, what do you mean? Because he looks like he graduated from high school. And he said, no, I graduated from college. I said, really? You know, and so we were curious, and that led to talking about other things. That's it.
Okay, so you kind of, what I'm hearing is you went through one round where everyone is heard you were doing a reflection, but then your curiosity got the best of you. Right. You just had to start asking questions.
And then I said, and what did you want to study, and why are you here? And so, but it started creating a very strong bonding, you know? Yeah, curiosity about each other, like what do we do, and who do you do? And
so the initial empathic listening created this real curiosity about each other, and then that led to questions and so forth, conversation.
Right.
Well, I would say one thing is you know, there's a tendency of wanting to go into conversation. Part of this is a little bit like doing your exercises, is to really, you know, fully hear everyone and stay in the process. You know, later on we can totally break into that free, you know, dialogue, but we're kind of trying to practice
the muscle.
The muscle. You know, sometimes it's like, oh, I want to do something else, but
we did do the homework, though.
Yeah.
It's not like we did. Right.
You want to reflect back what I was just saying?
I heard you say that for right now it's better to stay with the active listening, and you use the metaphor of it's like exercising your muscles. Stay with that. Don't get into all the stuff that is interesting. And
stay with the boring stuff. Okay, thank you. Is there more?
I found for myself that I need to practice exercising more, because I have a tendency to have dialogue and just kind of get out of the overall exercise. That's what I did.
So you're finding that you're needing more exercise in it and you have a tendency of going into dialogue. Energetically?
Interjecting.
Oh, interjecting. Oh, okay. So when the reflection happens, you're starting to go into dialogue and reflect, making comments or something.
Right, and I had to excuse myself for that.
And you're like apologizing to people for that.
Talking out of turn.
Talking out of turn. You apologize for talking out of turn.
And getting off the beaten path.
I'm sorry for getting off the beaten path. Is there more, or?
Would you like more?
This is your time. Until you feel heard.
No, I don't want to take away from the, from the overall exercise.
Okay. So you're good, and you don't want to take away from the overall exercise.
No, but that's just what I did that time.
You feel like you took away from the overall exercise, and you don't want to take away from the overall exercise.
No, I don't want to take away from the discussion about the overall exercise.
You don't want to take away from the discussion about the overall exercise.
I think you guys are doing great.
Have you been fully heard?
Yes,
I heard you both.
So, the importance of practicing and staying inside the practice. The first round, what came up for me is when I was reflecting back, I did some interpretations too, like I was the coach or the consultant, and I realized that that's not really necessary. And then in this practice, I was reminded that when I'm talking, whenever we're talking, we want to be talking from the I instead of you. This is, I'm feeling this, not when you feel this. And then the other thing that came up was important in our group is the instruction that when someone is reflecting back to you, when you're reflecting back to the person, to really be facing that person and be talking to them so that they really feel heard. And then there's one other key point, which is that we don't live in a society where people really listen to us. And so it's a gift. And that when people actually do feel heard, that they feel loved and seen and appreciated.
Okay, well, maybe I'll just reflect a little bit of what I was
Okay.
hearing. So you're starting off because you're a facilitator. You kind of want to start facilitating and adding comments.
Yeah,
initially
like
the
coaching.
first time, coaching
Yeah.
the first time around.
Yeah.
And then the second time there was you didn't coach so much.
No, I didn't. Oh, so the second time, what was valuable was to remember that you're speaking from the I,
Oh, the I.
using the I messages instead of when I'm talking, I'm saying you feel stressed. When you feel stressed, I do this, or to stay in the I message.
Okay, so instead of saying you,
Yeah,
you
say
say
I.
So you're seeing the importance of just being within your I
Yes,
statement.
yes.
And then there was a sense of talking about the culture in general doesn't really do dialogue. I mean, we don't really get heard within, and it's a real gift that you're giving when we get really heard deeply.
Yeah.
Okay, was there more? Or?
No,
Is there anything else, any learning? So the next thing we wanted to go into was everybody get up and change chairs again.
Okay.
The same person stay in the same spot that was there before. We want to mix it up a little bit.
Are you?
So the next question is going to be, we talked about a fear, an anxiety, a stress. And the next thing we're going to get into is what is a conflict you have in your life? In terms of healing conflict, empathy is the core active ingredient, it seems to me. And I've been doing this in my family. Like there was, and I tell the story a lot, that a conflict came up in my family. It was like last year during Christmas. And two family members started going at each other. And you know, I stepped into it, and just as we were doing here, I started listening to each side. I said, oh, I'm hearing you're saying this. And then the other person, do you feel heard? And they said, yeah, I feel heard. And I went to the other person and did the same thing. I went back and forth for like 15 minutes until the conflict, the energy went down enough. And I said, would you be willing to now do empathic listening with each other? And they said, no, you know, I don't know, you know. Yeah, please, yeah. And then, okay, I'll try, kind of thing. And then they started doing it. One person was saying, and I think she's saying this. It's like, I didn't say that. And I said, no, wait, first let her be heard, fully heard. Just reflect back what you're hearing. And then, you know, I just kind of kept it on track. And then the whole family gathered around. And we had this whole family empathy circle with everybody kind of doing this empathic listening, which we're doing here. Somebody asked about the feeling of empathy. It's like the feeling was taking that conflict and moving towards that sense of connection. So the feeling was everything from the conflict and holding the conflict with empathy to that sense of connection. So that's what we want to talk about now, is remembering a conflict that you have, and Brian's going to lead a little mindfulness again. Then we'll go into that question to share a conflict that you have in your life.
chairs again. Take a deep breath.
Really settled into place. Listen is the best way I can kick down.
Yana, Tima, I'm in heaven.
This is empathy heaven.
Thank you for bringing that. So good. Yeah, I think there's been some connections being built for sure, and there's definitely a sense of like lightness, and there's a lot more laughter than I would expect, which is nice. It's kind of a light mood. It seems like we're kind of like scraping the surface of what could be done, and noticing how like more time would be really beneficial to deepen into this. Because I think I guess that's what the second part's going to be about, though. It's figuring out how to improve upon what we just did. So yeah, I'm feeling a little unsettled at the moment, but also inspired by what we could do based on what we just did.
And the unsettledness, do you want to, I'm hearing you're unsettled. I have real curiosity about what that would be about.
I think it's the nature of this work. I notice a lot of times when we do empathy, I leave a little unsettled. And yeah, I think that's where the brainstorming is going to come in more. But it's just like, I don't know. There's always this sense that like it's the reflective listening is uncovering something, but there's something that wants to be met with more of a therapeutic something. I don't know exactly, but I just think I keep thinking about like Carl Rogers, and like he did all the work with reflective listening, and his main thing was like unconditional positive regard for his clients. And so there's something around like there's something missing in my empathic experience that maybe I'm not bringing fully, and I want to implement some kind of a way of like arising conflict in the moment as a way of like doing the circles. I think that would be would have more meat to it than just talking about outside things.
Okay. So look.
Places like that. So it felt good, like, gee, this is a little, build a movement. Exactly, and it starts with a little microcosm, and then it can grow. I knew that we were in a religious context here.
Interview the other person, and you have 8 more minutes.
What happened, why it happened, and how we felt about it.
I hope you're able to use the listening skills that you gained from like the past hours, and we're gonna go through the interviews again, and I want you all to think about what stood out, or things that you were curious about and want to find out more about.
Okay.
So yeah, we're gonna move on to step 3. So if you can flip to the next page. Hopefully you found out like a lot about your partner and what their experience was like this morning at the empathy circle. So the next step is to try to make sense of everything you heard from your partner. And how we're gonna do that is try to list out like what their needs are. So what are the things that they actually need during the empathy circles? And then also write down any insights that you had about your partner. So anything surprising about your partner that you didn't know before, about like their like worldview or like what their feelings were during the empathy circles.
2 minutes.
Try to use our empathy and try to move to creativity. So before we move on with the process, we just want to do like a quick exercise to get like you in like the creative mood and get the creative juices flowing. So if you turn to the next page, you're gonna see a bunch of blank circles. So you'll have 3 minutes to try to come up with as many circular objects as you can. So we have like a Okay, so time's up. So the next step is going to be sharing the ideas you came up with, for your partner. So you're going to be sharing those ideas with your partner to get feedback from them. And then later on, you're going to be using that feedback to iterate on your ideas. So
You just talking and then like having that person to reflect and like kind of carry out your ideas, bounce stuff off of. And then this one is just a church, open all day for healing. So I'm thinking of how to combine that vision of like it being a healing sanctuary, like all the time. It has a holistic like idea of all of the food, the counseling, the spirituality, like all thrown into one place. So yeah, it's kind of open-ended. Yeah.
There was this big box of, you find it at Chuck E. Cheese or at an arcade. The boxes filled with. I would be there.
When his like friend is like,
What you know how to do, they don't know how to do.
what you can't do.
So somehow to build your
This is a magic pill called nice uncle to like do.
I always find that.
Pizza.
Yeah.
You want to go
Right. And I want to work with people.
ongoing, so it's
Yeah. Yeah.
develop one where it's an ongoing
Process.
process.
Yeah. And because in this workshop, right, as opposed to this was more content oriented, like this is what university is, it was, yes, there were exercises, but it was more of a cognitive,
Yes.
process.
It was not, we didn't know each other well enough to actually drop down what
No.
was real.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to get the idea you have on your paper and try to create something physical to represent that idea or like some aspect of your idea. So on your tables you're gonna have like fluff balls and Play-Doh and pipe cleaners. So using those materials, try to create something that represents your idea. And the whole point of this is to make something so that that makes it easier for other people to understand your idea.
What do you got, Fatima?
House. It's under, I put it over in the back.
4 minutes.
4 minutes, oh my goodness.
How's it going for everyone? How's your idea?
Good, we need 1 more minute over here.
More time?
1
Alright.
minute, I'm done. Is that yours? Is your rock? I collect rocks, right? Yeah.
Buildings
standard. Instead, I decided to make a bigger container.
Really? Do that for you?
It's like an open container.
Next up is like a is to share your solutions with your partner.
Okay.
I love it.
Needing more harmonious relationships in the household so that he can be on a spiritual path. That's what I wrote. And so I created him a house that says, welcome, the house of love. Come in, and when you walk in, you can see a heart. And then it says, this house, in this house, there's love, joy, peace, and laughter.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
Thank you. So, Brian, you wanted to go next?
Sure. So from Atima, I wanted to facilitate her being able to find what she needs most in life, to feel healed and supported and empathized with. So I had some little toys over here, but they disappeared. But yeah, this would be her her naturopath to help her out with nutrition stuff. This would be her psychotherapist.
Smiley face.
Smiley face. This guy's her energy worker. And then we have a nice garden on the table with fruit trees and different vegetables growing. And yeah.
Thank you.
So James's problem was that he needed to like touch base with his friend about like his family and like kind of get them on the same page without compromising their relationship. So this is James and his friend, and they're like sitting down, and each person has like one object that's related to their like friendship, and another object that's related to their families, and then they're gonna take turns like just giving the story behind each object, and like in the process like reconnect over their friendship, and like also learn more about each other's families.
Nice.
Well, I had a clay monster because she had fear, so she was scared of like heights and spiders and all that, and so I had a clay monster for her, but it was not exactly a monster to scare her. It was to protect her from things that she's scared of. So the monster would tell her that don't be afraid. I'll be by your side.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
This is a flower, and it's notice it's a bright pink flower. And this is Pamela flowering and growing into her authentic self, being who she really is, and accepting herself. And there was something that we say here. It said, I'm coming into myself as I live and breathe.
Oh,
and this
nice.
is her flowering.
Very nice.
This is,
I thought I turned my phone on.
that's okay.
Okay.
This is a definition of connections, connecting everything and making it one thing. So with Diana, any concerns that she would have would be connected as in the same way that this is connected or anything else is connected. It all comes back to one.
Perfectly. Thank you.
I designed a website for my client.
Yay.
Who makes websites anyway, so it's funny.
And my client is a website designer, so I figured design website. Karen. And Karen has a passion for many things, among them racial awareness, raising racial awareness and diversity. So the website says Empathic Racial Awareness. That's the name of the website. And on the top, those navigation bars, this one says the human family, because we need to realize that we're all one family. And here it says racial awareness. You go there, there'll be videos and papers and books. And then empathic skills, like how to listen and all the empathetic skills. And then here, building empathetic communities. So you learn and you practice and you build community. And then there's a video of Karen here, 5 minutes, saying, hi, I'd like to invite you to become part of this movement and blah, blah. And that's Karen. And her purpose statement is, our purpose is to transform our human relations by learning about racial awareness and empathetic skills, resulting in a peaceful world.
Oh, nice.
And I'm only charging her $5.
So, my client, Manuel, feels very passionate about building community, building an empathic and community in diversity. And he's done a lot of work in diversity, conducting diversity trainings in big groups, but he found them to be very kind of short and shallow, and he wants them to be deeper and more. He wants to build a community, but have it go deeper. And so I created a calendar. At first I started drawing a calendar, but I figured these would go on different days. So, and I like the sponginess. And by the way, he picked pink. So the categories are personal development. In the morning, he has a empathy practice and developing his own empathy practice and diversity journaling to write down things that he knows throughout the day that have bothered him or actually he enjoyed or just interactions. Also in personal development is to take a class to build his own, to continue on his own journey and learning more. Community building, go to regular film screenings where the director is there and there's a discussion afterwards, and actively participate. Even if he is too scared to say something, say it anyway, because he has lots of stuff to say. And more community building is join a meetup group on empathy and or diversity. And also empathy is attend a large community gathering, whether it's spiritual or something, that has a very diverse group of people. And lastly, but probably one of the most important things, is to lead his own group that's process-oriented, that meets like 6 or more weeks and starts small with no fee or low fee, and then see what that's like and go from there.
Thank you.
One was how uncaring and how unhuman centered Berkeley is. So I redesigned Berkeley as an open container.
Okay.
And I made people being a little more creative, and they're linked together. And there's open windows, so he opens the box of a Berkeley education. The other thing we were talking about was suggested, I'm falling apart, suggested as a solution was designing a course for people who are doing way too many things like she is, and how to have self-empathy and empathy for others and get everything done. So this is her giving the course with all her little interconnected people in her container.
Very nice. Thank you.
So the statement for Miriam was that she needed more opportunities to experience and practice genuine empathy to build stronger human connection in her life. So I got really like meta with this and made a ring. And so she and her energy is the ball. It was a ball, the green Play-Doh. And then the different things that are coming out is her expanding, and then they can also represent different like roads. Because I think volunteer opportunities are like different paths that people can take. Yes.
And it also works as a fascinator.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is symbolic of a microphone, and it says, "You are the power," and that's one of the themes of his music. So I was trying to come up with a solution. I mean, the problem is that he wants to get his music more out exposed to the population, right? So one of my ideas was to really go digital with it. I mean, to really, and his son is very, very musically oriented too, very formally trained. And so as a team, they can really find a real niche that they can be an expert in the music business, in this particular type of music. So I'm thinking that make the music as global as possible. Get it on YouTube, get these instructional videos on his particular expertise, as well as performing, and use the marketing to try to get it out globally, with no restrictions on country, wherever you can. And so that has to do with some technology, maybe getting someone to assist you with the tagging and the keywords and all these things to really, because I think especially in the music business, it's hard because you need a lot of connections. You need to know someone who knows someone who knows someone to get something to an established singer or whatever. But if you can try to circumvent that by kind of getting yourself out there, independent of that, try to keep the leverage on your own, try to control your destiny in a way. I think it at least gives you more hope. So that's what I was talking to him a little bit about how to do the YouTube thing and how to get the social media movement behind your, and he really has a unique abilities and with his son really to contribute to the music business. So that was my idea.
Great, thank you.
We had a unique situation between me and Ryan here because Ryan wasn't here this morning and I was. And so in his sharing, he shared about a situation going on with a friend of his. And so what I got out of what he said, his friend is going through a divorce or a possible divorce. And so in some of what he shared with me, what I got as okay, I know I wrote it here. Oh, no, this part here is Ryan needs a way to assist his friend because his friend is going through a trying period. So he shared some of the situation where the woman in the situation actually has gone through 2 lawyers, and what he shared also was that his friend really, from the feedback he's got, he wants to get her back actually. So some of the unique thing that I came up with was maybe his friend could hire the lawyers to help to get her back, the former lawyers. So this represents a gavel and the thing that you hit the gavel, whatever you call that. And it's not, it's that's the gavel. and then the so this represents some of the potential gifts. This is a necklace.
Can we see it over here?
This is a necklace. This is a small one, but it's a necklace. It's a small one, but it's a necklace.
Very small neck.
And then this is the ring. So it's like potential gifts for and so that's that situation.
Thank you.
Great. So do we want to just hear from any comments from each person, or if you have any kind of feedback that you wrote that you'd like to share? Anybody like to?
And this is actually the opportunity to say anything that you liked about the day, any comments at all. So based upon your feedback, next steps, or any comments about the day in general.
I really like the diversity in the attendees. That's something that I don't see very often when I go to events like this. So it's really good to see it. What if it included outdoor activities just because it's beautiful outside? What if it
Outdoor activities?
On a day like today?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Any other comments? Closing comments? How did you feel about the day? Feedback or next steps?
Well, I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun for me taking, this is like the first launching of it, and they're having designed it and trying it out now, so getting the experience of it. So I'm really grateful for everyone taking part in it and trying it out. And yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed it.
You want to read mine?
Yeah, if you'd like to share.
Yeah.
I like the empathetic exercises, the listening, the mindful exercises, the design process, the diversity of the participants, different ages, everything, you know. I wish the design process had taken a little more time, felt a little rushed. And I know that I got carried away to other stuff because it's so stimulating, but you need to like have a little time for that. I would like to make talking about the design process, make a presentation, overview the whole process before going into the steps. You know, like walk you through the whole, I don't know, maybe I missed it, but you know, like the whole, you know, so that I know what's coming, you know, I know what the outcome is. You know. Use some flip charts, you know, that kind of stuff, so that you can see. And what if we actually had the time to design an empathetic community, like, take the example like Oakland. Like, what if we took Oakland as a client? He said, we're going to design Oakland as an empathetic community. I would like to see that, because I don't think we actually worked on our community. That's,
Great feedback.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, even though I missed the morning session, I really enjoyed the afternoon session with Cedric and everybody. And so for myself, I think, for me, it's important to follow up and keep kind of in contact, and even with Cedric, or just in general, because I find that once I finish, I have a tendency to move back into the old habit pattern and stuff like that. And so unless you have kind of a continual refreshing or reminder of what you've learned, it's kind of hard to keep it up, sustain it. So.
Great. Yes.
I have the suspicion that this is a certain use of the language that I think we should probably, checking a couple of people in the room, which is the word problem. Saying, I have a problem, kind of makes it dense, whereas a word like challenge doesn't seem quite so loaded. To say, whereas challenge is person space rather than I have a problem. So for me, that opens it up.
Nice feedback. Anybody else? Yes.
Oh, okay. I think, yeah, I like the diversity of age, so maybe opening it up more to families. Would be cool. I like how everyone was heard. I like the sharing. I like the creativity aspect of the design planning.
wanna say something. It had like a yeah. So for the first for like the first portion, I wished I got more time to like speak. Basically.
More time to speak?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yes.
Yeah, I really liked the whole day. I really enjoyed it. And I also really liked the diversity part of it. I noticed it right away. And I really liked the moments that we had to talk among, to actually communicate, like the exercises through the morning. There was one thing in the morning, there was one thing in the afternoon, and I would like to see them connected, or like sort of an explanation of the connection or some kind of thing so I can synthesize the two together. Because they sort of, in a way they have similar, or it was great. It just went in a different sort of more emotional versus more cognitive, intellectual direction or something. I don't know. But yeah, I really liked it. And the afternoon, I would have liked it maybe a shorter lunch break, so it felt a little rushed, quite rushed in sort of the creative part of it.
Yes.
I enjoyed the way that the entire day went. I learned different ways of practicing empathy, which is good. And I will be incorporating a lot of this information in my everyday as part of my daily routine. From now on, I mean, I considered myself as being a good listener, but now I have other information to sharpen, tools to sharpen my skills.
Great.
And I appreciate everyone who's here, and just being able to share and care and listen.
I enjoyed the day, and I enjoyed the opportunity to interact and listen and hone some skills about listening with the intent to actually hear what the person is saying. Because many times we hear what we think we hear, and that's not necessarily what the person is saying. So it's practice that makes perfect, and you have to sometimes be reminded that you can listen more empathically, you can kind of hear what the person is this is really about the person you're talking to. I got that.
Anybody else want to share?
Is it possible to share again?
Yeah.
Well, the reason why I wanted to say more is is because I really enjoyed the feeling of being heard, and and I want to feel that more, basically.
Yes.
And it feels like not enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Heardness.
So that reminds me of something that was said at my first table, which Edwin said it and then I said it again, is that when you're talking to somebody and you give them back their words, they feel heard, they feel seen, and they feel loved. And it's really like, I can hear you and I can interpret what you said in my own words, and then it's like, yeah, you heard me. But when I give you back your words, then it does give a feeling of empathy. So it's not just an intellectual, you understand me. And that increases the hormones that makes us feel good. end with one of the things that Ayana said, that she taught her children to applaud each other each time they learn something new. So let's applaud each other as our closing activity.